Coming up on this episode of The Brain Drain Show.
All the way from London, and we've come to the bright lights of Barbados, so we're very excited to be here. I feel like the sun shines here because Benny brings the sun out. Rob was like, I think, yeah, we can make a charity for Ben, and we're like, let's fucking do it. Delivering suicide awareness, prevention in skate shops. We're like, that sounds like a great idea.
You have to decide what you're going to do with the money. You have to have an objective. You have to have a charitable objective.
And then I was going to IB for most summers, and Ben was just like, don't know why you're going there, it's full of twats. Sometimes I think Ben's going to be looking down being like, can you just get my face off everything? He would have hated it.
If you don't know what the signs are, if you don't understand it, then of course you're not going to know how to have a conversation.
I had no bloody idea about what to do, but before we lost Ben, worst thing I have ever gone through and ever will go through, I can hands down, was losing Ben suicide. This is the number one
skateboarding podcast.
Number one, guys.
In Derby.
Deepest condolences. If that word, can we just eliminate that? It's like, what was up there with the Sue of the South?
We were part of the shop riots, that we had our logo as part of it, and that's just that awareness raising piece.
When he was on King of the Road, he came to stay with me when I was in Ipswich. There's a clip of him and Jackson, and then Ben was like, Jackson, you can do it, man, I'm not going to take this off. And I was like, that's my brother. That is my brother. He was just beautiful.
Converse are super, super supportive. They've funded our projects. Vans have also funded our projects as well. They recognise the importance of what we're doing.
I went to his funeral, and I will never forget getting out the car. Said he looks over and just saw me go, oh my fucking God, because there was just hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people. Well done, guys, that's amazing.
Good evening, my name's Forde from The Brain Drain Show. Joined to my left is Toby, Batchelor, and joined to our left is two very special guests. They are...
It's Lucy and Susie
from the Ben Raemers Foundation.
Oh,
we
actually synchronised it.
Yeah, we did.
It's like we're almost professional or something.
I know, we're getting there. Episode 54.
Is that what this one's going to be?
Sean?
You don't know.
I don't know.
Check the playlist.
It's in the 50s, isn't it? It's like mid-50s.
It's like you, yeah.
Hey.
Thanks for
Are
coming.
you in the mid-50s?
No, I'm 21. I got ID'd for booze just before Christmas.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Christmas 10 years ago when you told me.
No, just before Christmas.
Really?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Sorry.
That's not how you're supposed to react.
I mean,
she did have really thick lens glasses. She didn't.
did you have ID on you? I never have ID on me.
I said to her, I was like, I'm 45. And she just looks at me and went, oh, okay. But I think it's because I'm quite short.
That'll be it.
And you've got a great head of hair.
And I dress like someone who's younger, I guess, because of skateboarding. So not like a child, thank you. Anyway, how you both doing? You all right?
Very good.
Very good.
All the way from that there, London.
Yep, all the way from London, and we've come to the bright lights of Barbados, so we're very excited to be here.
You brought
I
the weather with you.
love the Barbados.
It's supposed to be 18 degrees today.
I can feel it.
Can you believe it?
I am sweating my ass off.
It's probably going to get real hot in here, actually. It does, doesn't it? When it
Might need to open a window.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Might
in a
get
bit.
steamy.
Does it? Because I'm cold.
Are you?
I feel good temperature. I feel like
Put your
Benny...
jacket on.
I know. Which is why I'm a good temperature.
Yeah.
I'm not neither hot nor cold. I feel like the sun shines here because Benny brings the sun out.
Yeah.
Every
it does.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just because me and Suze have arrived as well.
Yep.
Bringing the sunshine.
Yeah.
That's it.
Real simple.
Can you explain both your roles with the Ben Raemers Foundation, just so to give people a little bit of insight who might not be aware of the foundation and the history and all that kind of stuff?
Go on, Suze, you kick
Shall I
off.
start?
You kick off.
So let me try and think of it. So, history of the foundation. So after Ben died, not long after was Go Skateboarding Day, and I was working for Tower Hamlets Council in public health, and I'd worked for the year before for Go Skateboarding Day with my friend Jake, who works at Slam, to sort of see if we can do some stuff around the borough for Go Skateboarding Day. And then in 2019, after Ben died, Jake said to me, is there anything we can do on a different level with sort of raising some awareness about mental health at Go Skateboarding Day? And we did something like, I laugh about it and thinking about it now because about how sort of absurd it was. And we put some leaflets for local services in the bags that people got on Go Skateboarding Day. That there was the silhouette head bags were made. I think Vans made them.
Yeah.
Is it there?
Yeah.
And and then there was also this, what was up, there was like Tower Hamlets Mental Health Services were having their AGM at the same time, just next to the skate park in Victoria Park.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh, so we can just get people to go and pop in and see what's going on over there. And like, you know, to raise awareness, there's some mental health services there. They were doing like chair-based exercises outside on a chair. I was like, no one's chair-based exercises. So there was like there was like 20 chairs in a circle of people sort of doing like this.
Oh, okay.
Now do you feel bad for laughing, Toby?
So sorry, were they doing that?
This was kind of a sort of, it was part of the AGM's like agenda.
Right.
Get people fit, even if
yeah.
from sitting down.
So it sort of shows the
Should we try?
The breadth of so help your podcaster's knee.
Yeah.
That is true.
That is
do
true.
that.
Yeah. Anyway, so that so we sort of did a bit there, but it just wasn't that much. And then later on at the pub, I was talking to Rob, and he was like, "Oh, we've raised some money for I think it was the bench." And he's like, "But we've got like a bit more. Do you know of anything we can do with this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I do. I think I do know something we can do." Because I'd worked at a charity for 8 years. I've been working in public health for another 8 years or something like that at the time, which was working in public health but with charities around health issues in communities, and it was all about community-led programs and communities doing things for themselves, but it was always on a geographical basis. And I was just like, just because people live near each other doesn't mean they necessarily want to do things together. They want to complain about the bins. You two live near each other.
People setting off fireworks.
And people setting off fireworks. It's mainly about complaining.
people like to complain.
People like to complain, especially when you work for the council. They love complaining to you. And I was like, I just want to do so. We can do something with a community of interest anyway. And Rob was like, let's speak to Lucy and see what she can do. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to Glastonbury, and then I'm going to go to like a music festival for a week, and then I'm going to go to Ibiza so when I get back from Ibiza, we can meet. And then we met, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then started looking at what ideas of what we could do to become a charity and do some work within the community, but the skateboarding community rather than a local geographical neighbourhood-based community. So there's some theory behind what we do.
Right.
Which I'm not going to go into just yet.
How easy is it to set up a charity? I don't really know much about that, but is it quite a lot of red tape and having to jump through a lot of hoops and all that?
Well,
bollocks.
A bit of background. When we lost Ben, Ben's sister, when we lost Ben, and then me and my other two brothers and my family all were grieving extremely differently. Yeah. And I was extremely close to Ben. And
because you're a little bit older than Ben, right?
No,
younger.
Hey, I'm younger.
Sorry.
Can you not tell by my?
That was getting back at her when you said you got IDs. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I hope you wanted to hit me in the feelers there, Toby. Yeah, I'm
Baby
2 years
sister.
younger. Yeah, baby sister. I'm the youngest.
Right.
3 brothers.
Sorry.
Yeah.
She's like 7:30.
Yeah, exactly. I have been called that before, actually. What could be in the Beckhams.
But what I was getting around saying was, so you're the closest in age to the rest of your siblings, right? Okay.
So me and Ben, and we were super tight, always really, really close. And so it felt really kind of natural that I was like, I really want to do this and be involved with this. And that's where the amazing Susan and Rob were just like, we can make this happen. But I'll never forget when Rob was like, I think, we can make a charity for Ben, and we're like, let's fucking do it. Yeah. And then we met up with Susie. He's like, we'll meet up with my good friend Susie. She's like works in public health. I was like, wicked. You were super tanned, which is you just come back from Ibiza. I was like, she looks like a babe. And then we sat there, and she was like, okay, so what kind of thing are you thinking? Rob were like, I don't really know. And Susie was like, okay, well, what about, I don't know, delivering suicide awareness, prevention in skate shops? We were like, that sounds like a great idea. She was like, okay. And I remember saying, is this going to be a fucking nightmare? And Suze was like, no, we're fine, we can do this. And that was the best thing, hearing that, because actually when we were then looked at the paperwork, I remember sitting there with my cousin, who's a trustee as well with chess, and Suze got it out and she was like, okay, might take a little while, but it's fine. And the paperwork was like this thick, and we were going through, and I was like, this is jargon I have no idea about.
But what,
that's-
what
yeah.
was the paperwork? Just stuff to make sure that you were doing it safely and
Governance.
to a standard, basically.
Governance.
Yeah.
Still
It's
to
like-
this
so
day, I don't know. That's how
So
much.
it's
I
just
was-
things in place so you know. So it's like what happens with what you have to decide what you're going to do with the money.
Yeah.
You have to have an objective. You have to have a charitable objective, and then you have to have things in place if things fuck up, basically, and go wrong, and what you're going to do about it. And it's all in your constitution. But you say about how does it. So we did the application. We went through all this like loads of paper and ticking and deciding things. I mean, you can always change them.
Yeah.
But we did that, and then we sent the application in, and then they were like, "There's some kind of things wrong with it." I was like, "Oh fuck!" And my mum's friend was like, "Oh, why don't you just call them up and ask them to help you with it? The Charities Commission help you change it." And then so I did, and then so I booked a scheduled call with them to say like, "We just go through some things." It was just about tweaking the words of the objectives to make sure they're aligned with being a charity, but. Like some beautiful fate, the woman from the Charities Commission was from Liverpool, and she was like, "Oh no, I know about Ben.
Right.
I know the story of that. I know what you're doing. Like, I want to help you get this done." I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
"How do you like? Okay, fine."
Yeah.
So it was a lot of paperwork, but it's not that hard. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I'm saying how hard is it? It depends on what your skill set is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why we work so well, because we've all got different skill sets, and paperwork is just not one of mine. So
Right.
when having Suze to like the bread and butter to the charity and just that bit of it, it would never have taken off if, I reckon me and Rob would still be page 2 of the paperwork if we'd been doing it. So I think that was like paramount, having like Suze there, definitely, and I actually remember we were like, the Ben Raemers Foundation, and we were like, foundation sounds nice. I like the foundation. I don't know what it was, foundation charity, but I was like, the Ben Raemers Foundation was really nice. My cousin Louis was actually doing an ultra marathon before we were even registered, and was like, "Cuz I kind of need to write down what's it's going to be called." And then we were like, "Are we all going to agree the Ben Raemers Foundation?" We're like, the Ben Raemers Foundation. So then he went and did it before it was actually, we're officially a charity. But
Yeah, there was lots of work before we were actually registered as a charity.
Yeah.
There was sort of,
people were fundraising, and I was like, I feel like, it's just going to happen. It's going to happen. It's like a good omen. So
and we
So-
launched before we became a charity. Like,
Yeah.
hope that can stay in. Don't come for us, Jerry. It's
gonna happen.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gonna
gonna
happen.
happen.
So who's like, obviously you two are involved in it, and Rob as well. Is there anyone else behind the foundation that help out with?
Yeah.
French-
So I've got my cousin Francesca,
Yeah.
Chess, so she's a trustee as well. And then we have an absolute incredible board. How many of us is there now?
It's fine.
Five.
You can look, so it's 5 other
The
people.
board agree.
Yeah, there's
Board.
5 other. We thought
Yeah.
we had to get some more people in to input and for accountability, because I got made redundant, and then I was like, oh well, I can just work on this now as well. And we had some money we needed to spend. We had a
Right.
grant from Van's Checkerboard Fund.
Yeah.
Checkerboard Fund, which was amazing, because they choose 10 charities. They chose 10 charities across the world to give a charity, like all different ones, and we were one of them. But they're like, you got to spend the money. I was like, okay.
We're not just loaded to sit there and
Yeah, like we're just sort of looking at it for a while, like thinking, what should we do with this? But we made
Yeah.
so we're funding some our work. But so then we was like, we need some other people in to sort of a bit more accountability, so we can just sort of be like, they can check the accounts, and we're spending the money on what we're supposed to be spending it on.
Trips to Ibiza.
Glastonbury. No. I don't think there's that much skateboarding in Ibiza.
No, do you know,
Is there?
Glastonbury?
I've never been. I could not think of anywhere.
I was
worse
just
to
going to
go.
say.
I spent a really large part of my 20s in Ibiza. There's a period of time when me and Ben, we've always been really tight, but then I very much from about 18 got into raving, and then I was going to Ibiza most summers, and Ben was just like, don't know why you're going there, it's full of twats. I was posting all these videos, and he was like, what the hell? Like his idea of hell. But we were actually talking about it on the train here, and I was like, I just don't know if I could go back now. I wouldn't have the same. I don't know. Suze, you do it right, don't you? Yeah. Or whereas I'd go there and they'd be like, what the hell is this woman doing here? Thinking she's really cool raving. She looks like a loser. So
Should we go to Ibiza, just me and you, and just film something about it?
Podcast.
You should do a podcast with
me.
It sounds
tour.
like hell. Actual
Oh,
hell.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful.
All right,
It's beautiful.
let me just give you a little bit of an idea.
What
of
about if we
I-
go to Magaluf, Shagaluf? What about
Shagaloof, yeah.
I dislike hot places, sand,
True.
People. I knew you were going to say people.
and spending external
know
time
what?
with me
With
that he
him.
doesn't
You
need
could
to?
go. You could just go.
Can we just watch a walkthrough on YouTube?
Yeah, I could just do that.
Suze can record when she's there in the
I'll
summer.
send you. Yeah.
We'll just go on Google Maps on the computer. And we
Follow
can walk
Suze.
through.
Walk through.
Can we just put an air tag in your shoe and we'll just watch
Or we'll
where
put
you
Suze,
go?
you could put a GoPro on your forehead and we can
Yeah.
watch
I'd
you
love that.
through
That'd be-
Yeah, GoPro the whole time.
Here I am going for a walk in the countryside.
Yeah, we're like
Here I am
Suze.
going for a swim.
Exactly.
Here I am in the loo.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Ibiza. What
I
was
think
it?
for the governance, and then we've got some more
Yeah.
board members. So we've got some
Yeah.
new board members, and then they can give some different. And then we sort of specified that it's like we're just quite clear that the work is for skateboarders,
Yeah.
and that's like the main thing. It's like we want to make sure everything is aligned to what would be accepted or okay within skateboarding or fits within the skateboarding culture
Yeah.
and processes.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes us so unique as well. And we're having a chat on the train down, and I attended something recently, and it was very much some people kind of aligning with the same mission we're on, you know, which is to prevent suicide. But actually, when I was at this event, and I was thinking, we're so special and unique what we do. There isn't anything out there. Sometimes I think Ben's going to be looking down being like, can you just get my face off everything? He would have hated
That's
it.
what I remember
He would
Barney saying to
fucking
me.
hate it.
Barney was like, Ben would hate this.
He would hate it. And like the amount of times I do think that, but I'm sure he'll be beaming with pride in one way, but also hating the attention. But I think we are so unique. But I think, what has stayed the same throughout is us staying within the skateboarding community.
Yeah.
And that's what is, special and what we're going to continue to do.
So give us a little insight into some of the things you've been doing. Obviously, a lot of people would have seen the Smile interviews. We were talking about it earlier and how good the Elissa's team one is. If you watched that,
Yeah,
super good.
Yeah, Alyssa's sick.
But also the suicide prevention
training.
awareness
Yeah, so
classes.
Yeah, so you're saying about what have you been doing recently? So like last month, February, we went to San Jose and San Francisco. So San Jose, we had a jam. We had a jam in a skate park in San Jose. We went there because I was invited to deliver a lecture or a talk at San Jose State University.
Yeah.
But because I was asked to do that, we were like, why don't we just go and do some stuff there? And the idea of the jams is they're called Skate for Ben. And they feed into our Feeling Seen films. And the idea with the Feeling Seen, which we've done Leeds and Cardiff, and now we're going to have San Jose. The idea of those films is that we have the jam where we get people together and get people out and connect, which is one of these sort of theoretical based like words, you know, that we know that if people have connection, they're going to feel better.
Yeah.
If they feel connected to each other or where they are, they feel it improves your well-being. So we want people to have an opportunity to connect, and they really did in San Jose. Everyone got that together, and it was just
Because Ben spent a lot of time in San Jose, didn't
Exactly.
he?
Yeah.
Like when he was going out to the States and
It's
stuff.
like home from home for him.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone, not everyone, but everyone we spoke to there remembers, like, loved having Ben there. They just they all talked about how much they loved having him be in San Jose. And but then so the idea with the jams is that we not only just have a jam when we like want to give out, we get our friends to give out products, and we had so much stuff to give out. We got rid of it all, and shoes and boards and wheels and t-shirts and stuff. But we also invite community organisations to come and be part of the event, so that people can see from their there's, you know, so there's an organisation that can provide suicide prevention, a hotline or something. So in Leeds we had Papyrus and Andy's Andy's Man Club there,
yeah.
so they can just talk about, you know, we do these man clubs, like you can come along. This is what we do, and so we can say that there's other support available that's not necessarily, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to go to that, because they can come to where skaters are at, and skaters can go to where they're at. It's that's just there's something there, or maybe you've never known about that. Maybe you've never known. So we had those, and then we make these films where we talk about the skate scene and also what's available for that. So that's what's available to support mental health wider in case people need additional. And then I also do the suicide prevention training, which is Suicide First Aid Light. So I went to Jersey. Phil from Skateboard Jersey organised this training, which was quite amazing. They really said they had a suicide in the skateboard community in late last year.
Oh yeah, I know that fella.
Yeah, it's Danny Cram. And after he died, Ollie Barton messaged me, and he's like, "I'm in Jersey. They've had a suicide. Like, is there something you can do?" I was like, "Well, let's speak to them and see what would work." And so we gave them one of the boards to go to the shop, so that we've got a board so they can access the resources we have on our website, because there's tons there. I looked into the website yesterday. I was like, oh my god, we've got so many resources here. There's too much for people, but we'll sort that. But did the training also as a way of like getting people to understand, because the training that we deliver is half of it is about understanding what suicide is and where it comes from. And the sort of how it can affect everyone and the risks around it, and then the second half is around how you do a suicide intervention if you see these signs, and what to do and say if you see those signs. So I went there and delivered that training, and like there was 16 people on a really sunny, beautiful Saturday afternoon, spending 3.5 hours learning about suicide prevention, and I was like, it's like
I think that was us. I think why that's so special. I think ultimately what it does, it's like educating people on something that I had no bloody idea about what to do. But before we lost Ben, I didn't know how to. I really thought if I say to him, "Are you thinking of killing yourself, or are you thinking of suicide? Have you got thoughts of suicide?" That would plant something in Ben's head. Like I was so under the illusion, and I was like, I'm just not going to say it because it's not there. I'm just going to think it's not there. And I think when we did the training, and one of the first things when Rob and Sue sat down, Sue was like, why don't we, something we could do. And I think the impact of that training, what that can have and what that can do is so special. I'm glad that that's just taken off and it's doing so amazingly. Definitely.
It helps to understand it, because it's that thing, it's like the grief from it is like
huge.
What the fuck? Like,
yeah.
That's like devastating. But of course it's like, if you don't know what the signs are, if you don't understand it, then of course you're not going to know how to have a conversation. It's not like you just. I used to work on I always talk about this. Really boring if people have heard it before, but I worked years ago. I worked on a community project called the Small C, and it was raising awareness of what was it? Yeah. Because remember, with cancer, we're the same age, so we said they've got the big C. Got the big C, and you didn't talk about it because it was the big C, and that was it. It didn't even say cancer, the big C. So we were trying to change the narrative for cancer to call it the small C. But this is cancer, this is breast, bowel and cervical cancer, and this is what the signs and symptoms are, and this is how you can get tested for it, and this is how it gets treated. And I worked within mainly like the Bangladeshi community in East London, raising awareness about it. So working with the community to get them to understand what the signs are and how to get tested, and give them how to access that testing for cancer. And I sort of see this as the same thing. It's like, if you know the signs and know what to do, then we can treat it. But if you don't know the signs and don't know what to do, then you can't treat it.
I think there's just so much stigma still attached.
I was going to say, it's a stigma thing, isn't it?
It's stigma, I think, as well. It's something that, I mean, in my job that I do alongside supporting the foundation and whatnot, I support loads and loads of people, and a lot of them, I must say, on a daily basis, about 3 times, are you having thoughts of suicide? Like it's just become natural now. And the amount of, I mean, the use of language is still so used hugely. The word commit, we don't say commit anymore. And having to kind of add those education pieces on it as well is happening all the time. And I'm kind of something I'm always not. I want to say, is correcting the right thing to say? Correcting something? Yeah, I guess. Addressing. I'm like educating. I'm like correcting feels a bit like, don't fucking say that. Because you don't know, right?
Do it right. Do it right. This is not how you do it.
Right.
Do it like this.
But yeah, and like Sue said, the ripple effect. Like the ripple effect was a tsunami. Like the worst thing I have ever gone through and ever will go through, where I can hands down, was losing Ben suicide. And the effects of it, where it took me, but something else we have been doing at Liverpool is supporting people with counselling support, which is something that I didn't have. My cousin Chess sorted it out through her work, but we said this is something we really feel like could be really beneficial, because I feel like with therapy, it's only really accessible for people that can fucking afford it half time, because or you get 6 sessions through the NHS and then that's it.
It's just a long wait as well. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
I think I waited, I think it was like 4 months because my best friend died in October of 2023, and that just like fucked me for ages.
Yeah.
And then I went to therapy for that, but it was such a, like, it helped,
Yeah.
but it was the longest wait to, and then in that time I just got worse.
Totally.
And then
the
even
thing.
after as well, and I at work sometimes it's just been overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like when you find photos and videos and stuff, it's like been really hard. But the weight's ridiculous. Like trying to see someone.
Totally. And I think that's something, even we had quite a turbulent upbringing, and even I remember at one point thinking I probably need to speak to someone. Didn't really know. I'm actually training now to be a counsellor in my 3rd and final year. It's been grueling, but we're getting there. And part of the reason why I got into it was obviously after Ben, but also wanting to give people a chance to have accessible therapy and bridge the gap of these massive wait times. And yeah, like after Ben, I was like, no, don't I want it? And I remember if it's going through the NHS, it would have been 6 months. I would have been dead within that time if I hadn't received support. So
I think the turnaround for me waiting was quite quick, a couple of months. Quite quick, because some people I'd spoke to were like 6, 8 months, 9 months. Somewhere I think around 4 months or so I waited.
But still, it's hard. If every day's really hard, then
it's a long time to sit on your thoughts and not know what to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think by us doing that, and we've kind of done a similar model to what I do in my other job as well, we've made it accessible, so people come through, and then we can get them set up. We've got some amazing counsellors that did the training with Sue.
So we did we worked with the National Counselling and Psychotherapy Society to train their counsellors in understanding skateboarders.
Wow.
I mean,
and that's
top level.
I can imagine.
Not understanding skateboarders. It was more like understanding what can be coming with the people. So they had to watch our Smile films.
Yeah.
They had to watch the Vice documentary about Ben. They had to understand us as an organisation, and they had to go through that practice, that training, before we would then send people to them as counsellors, just so they know that
It's quite interesting, really, because skateboarding has always attracted a certain type of person that tends to have kind of like obsessive behaviours, ADHD, riddled with it.
Which you're now being heavily medicated for.
Not heavily
Have
medicated.
you been diagnosed?
Yeah.
So have I.
Recently,
I got
At
diagnosed
the age of 65, finally.
I thought you were 21.
I am.
under 21.
We don't have to put this in if you don't want it.
Oh, no.
Are you taking medication for it?
No, I'm not. So I got diagnosed 4 years ago. Ben had fucking ADHD.
That's what I was going to go on to say. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't spend much time with him, but looking back now,
Totally.
I can see that trait with a lot of people that we've
creative, right?
Yeah,
Creatives. And I think
Needing to move, expressing yourself through your body.
that quick like,
podcaster's knee is just another excuse for me needing to get up and walk around. But don't tell anyone that, because I like having
It's a real clinical
podcaster's
issue.
knee.
getting diagnosed was, I think, mainly for like my close people around me, understanding when I go from 6 million different things to one, or I'll start talking about something that's completely different. When me and my boyfriend got together, Jake, I remember he said I told him quite early on. I don't think I did, and I remember talking, and he went, I said something to him, and he's like, "How's your brain got to that?" And then I was like, "I don't really want to tell him." And then later, I think I said to him, I said, "Oh, I've got ADHD." He's like, "That makes so much fucking sense." My college where I'm doing my studying, my tutor's been very anti ADHD, let's just say.
Why?
Because he's a psychologist, he's a psychologist, psychotherapist, kind of like everything. He's got wealth of knowledge, but he thinks that where we are at this day and age, with our screen time, social media, you're constantly searching for dopamine hits. And his thinking is that we've almost created mirror images of ADHD and people getting diagnosed without going for head scans. So he's kind of,
I'm quite into that.
You're quite into it.
Well, no,
I mean,
I'm into it because I think, but I don't say it's not. I don't think it's not ADHD.
Get up.
No, I don't even say. I don't think, and I definitely think, you know, and if you want, and like,
but this
diagnosis is really helps people, and medication really helps. But I think also we do live in like a really challenging
life's fucking hard, right?
You know, a lot on stimulation and the impact that has on our processing.
Yeah. How's your medication?
Swings and roundabouts. I mean, I was very lucky. I went private with mine to get the diagnosis because, I mean, I'm been on the waiting list for 5 years for the NHS. Just never going to get it, are you? And, you know, luckily I can sort of get in contact with them and change medication.
It's tricky, this, because it's the same doctors who are doing it for the private and doing it for the NHS.
Yeah.
And this is what really fucking worries me up.
Yeah,
it's like, if you didn't spend your time doing the private, but then you could do more NHS diagnoses. Yeah. But I understand that you need that sort of additional salary to,
exactly.
to get
through.
It's
catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, we don't put this in either, but are you okay talking about your autism?
Yeah.
Like Sean recently
You can put this in if
you Sean recently got diagnosed with autism, which we all knew anyway. I mean that in the nicest possible way. But like, because you did yours NHS, didn't you? And how long were you on the waiting list for?
Oh, mine was through my doctor, which is an NHS doctor, but the actual service was private.
Was it right? Did you go on Right to Choose?
Yeah.
It only took 3 months for me.
Right to Choose is great. Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because it's like you don't like with like.
Well, I saw there was a waiting list to get NHS ADHD tested. Tested, not the word, screened.
Yeah.
In somewhere in Wales, it was 9 years the waiting list.
By that point, I'd be like.
And I just read a story when I was waiting for you guys at the station. It's somebody in Derbyshire, a 14-year-old girl who died, and they believe it's because she was waiting for her ADHD diagnosis, and because of her spontaneous decision making, she died somehow. It didn't say how, and they think that's because of that. And like,
isn't it?
There is a stigma around. Oh God, we're getting right off subject here, but it is kind of linked. But like ADHD, everyone says they got it these days, don't they? But there is a whole generation that have been, and there's part of my notes here. You know, that whole kind of attitude to, if you're not happy, if you're feeling a bit down, you know, pull your socks up, get on with it. There's been that sort of masking, not mirroring, like masking, you know, just don't talk to people about that stuff.
Head in the sand.
Exactly that. And I think,
have something to eat and go to sleep.
Exactly,
You'll feel better
you know. And like I said to you before, like, we've had a lot of people on this show, not to bring it back to this, but that have mentioned mental health issues. And the Raemers Foundation is the first time that's kind of, I don't even know how to word it, like the first time people have actually sort of listened and acknowledged
it was a massive...
and actually started talking about it. Because before, everyone was just like, shut up, pull your socks up, here's another beer, here's another spliff, here's a load of whatever, go and deal with that, shut up and get on with it. And now, you know, it's changed.
But look what happens if we shut up and get on with it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's why we have to do this. It's like,
it was so many years of like nobody would utter a word about anything.
Well, in all honesty, it was just toxic bullshit.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
and
It was
it's
like
just...
fucking like, especially like if you're a guy doing it as well. It was very like man up.
It's really hard to do things if you don't know how.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before, and that's what we're hoping to do. That's why we have things like I kind of think it's a bit weird, but love when we have adverts in the skate magazines.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, sometimes like, oh my God, fucking hell, we've got an advert in the back of the Skateboarder's Companion that says, these are the signs of suicide. Or this is how you have a conversation with your friend about mental health. And I'm like,
that was nowhere until you guys came along and did it.
I think seeing like Ben's silhouette everywhere, and it's such it's so significant. Like you can see it's Ben straight away.
Yeah.
That's obviously Rob's incredible artwork as well, and just Rob being like, you know, making that happen and seeing that. And I think that it's it's just a really powerful image. I think you can just see that's Benny Boy, and
Where have you got yours tattooed on you? It's on your arm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love that, Toby.
I can't remember when I got out. 2 years ago.
Maybe 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was, after Ben's passing, that was the first time
The people started
even myself
talking
that
about
I
it.
actually spoke to my mates about it.
Yeah.
And then obviously I still feel kind of guilty that when Sean died, like a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
that gets to me all the time. But
it's because we had Munson on talking about his mental health, and then who else was
Munson talking about it is so different though, isn't it? Because he's so like charged up about it, and he's like really proud of it, isn't he? He's like, I went here and I fucking did that, and I spoke to this fucker and they fucking helped me out, and my wife was saying you're being a prick, and I
can so hear it.
Yeah.
We need to work on our Munson impressions, because quite often he comes up and everyone's got a really good Munson impression, but that was pretty weak. I can't do
no, because I can't.
Well, I think you just got to keep going, fuck, fuck, haven't you?
It's like he was fast tracking his story, talking about how he got help himself. But I think it was good when Munson came on and spoke about it as well, because a lot of people in skating see Munson as being like a proper gnarly character.
Yeah.
And then he was like, all of that eventually breaks down and you're just tired. You're tired of it and you need to start sorting it out a little bit.
That's
he's
what
still that gnarly character, but
he's
he
more
like
aware of it now.
I think he knows how to talk to people.
That's what I was trying to deliver in a nice formatted way. But like before this, it was just like, shut up, pull your socks up and get on with it. So now it's opened up this kind of like, I'm not going to say who, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me through listening to what people have been saying on this. And, when people getting the contact number for the therapist who's now seeing a lot of skateboarders. And, and
we've had nice messages like that from people.
I think you're creating, I think, especially now, podcasts are huge, right? And it's just you work from home, you have it on. Especially, this is the number one.
This is the skateboarding podcast.
Number one, guys.
In a mile
in
radius.
Derby.
In Derby.
I think, people, especially as well since COVID, like working from home, I work, but unless I'm at placement or college, whatever, I'm at home. And I always have stuff on in the background. Music's good, but it's quite nice to hear any being part of a wider conversation, as it not just an education piece, but so I think you're creating a real space in itself for talk about stuff like this, which before Ben, even before Ben, I didn't talk. I hadn't experienced suicide. I didn't know how to talk about it, and I actually probably would have shit myself speaking to someone who'd lost someone to suicide.
Yeah, because it's
scary. Am I going to say the wrong thing? Shit, what do I say to them? And after I lost Ben, I was living in the sewer of the South at the time. Suffolk. Sorry, that's such a dig. Maybe don't keep that in.
No, that can we've had worse.
Sewer of the South. Suffolk. I was living in Ipswich at the time before I moved to London. And I lost Benny Boy, then it all came out, and I had people, they'd see me across the road and they'd see me and they'd cross the road because they were obviously, now I realise they were just, shitting themselves, like, what do I say? But
and that's not about you, that's about them.
It's about them, but I thought, what, say something, just say something. I'm so sorry. Just be like, I'm sorry. I think in that time...
But it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because some people won't want to hear someone say that they're sorry. You know what I mean? It's like, I think everyone's got a different approach to it, and it's like...
I think for me, personally, I was like, for someone just saying something, and even if it's the wrong thing, like someone saying, I had someone fucking say, oh, I know how you feel, and I thought, if you dare, and it's like, I lost my grandma. I was like, you're very sad, your elderly grandma who lived to 89. My brother killed himself at the age of fucking 20. Fuck, I've just forgot his age. 28.
28, it's there, it's behind you.
Benny Boy, sorry.
I guess it's the acknowledgement, isn't it, that someone's thinking about you in a kind way.
I think acknowledging, and just, I think in those early stages of me being like, my whole world just stood still. Mm-hmm. I kind of can't even comprehend even being in that place now, but I think the best things I was people were doing for me around that time was saying, let me just come around and do your washing and just keep on top of the house, and let me just take that away. And I just got like food sent to me because I was like, I can't even think about eating. I wasn't really eating. You know, you kind of lost track of what day it was. But people doing practical stuff and being like, I'm fucking here. And even just like not sending, like, I got loads of flowers, which is really lovely, but it was the worst thing. I had like pots of flowers just dying around me, and I was like, I now have to do something with these. This is something else dying in front of me. And there's a certain smell of flower now around May time that I smell, and I'm like, and it just takes me back. But I think people just doing practical stuff, and just even just messaging me being like my cousin Chess messaged me something completely different. It's something that made me laugh for the first time. She was like, because I don't know, I'm just putting this here, something that just might bring a smile. And I was like, fuck, I really needed a bit of normality because you're in this mist of just like, what is going on? So,
but I guess everyone, you know, they just, that's kind of your stereotypical response, isn't it?
Totally.
Send some flowers. And
deepest condolences.
Yeah,
that word, can we just eliminate that? Like,
but that's people trying to do something nice.
It's,
But
I
obviously
know
it's not.
Do you know when there was someone, I really hope they're not going to listen to this, someone who was quite close to us as a family when we were younger, just like family friend, and he sent this message like, my deepest condolences, and I was like, who the fucking hell are you speaking to? Like, you have no idea who we are. And it was like so very formalised. And I think there is nothing formalised about going through grief and actually just being like, I'm so sorry. Or do you know what I mean? I think it was just I don't know, it was something quite triggering. This is probably my stuff, probably something to take to therapy, my stuff in that. I'm like, why am I so annoyed by condolences? I think just trying to, I mean, people just want to do something and say something, even, again.
I think that's it. It's like,
they want to say something, don't
it's
they?
like the worry that he's going to say something wrong when they don't realise that just saying something, if it's right or wrong,
and
you
just
find the merit of the kindness in it.
Yeah, and even saying that, I don't know if this is going to be the right fucking thing. I don't know what to say right now, but I'm here. Like, I'm sorry. And you'd be like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Or like sometimes with, like, I'll message Susie if I'm having a really rough time. She's like, what do you need? And I'm like, that's really nice way of just being like, what do you need? What can I do right now? And I'm like,
no more flowers.
No more fucking flowers. No more
deepest condolences. No more flowers.
No more hydrangeas.
But then that goes back to what we were saying earlier about, you know, people's sort of historical response to how they feel they should react to things, and you know, the language used that's all part of that. So like you guys talking about it and sort of raising awareness and re-educating people and how their attitudes have changed towards.
I don't know if I'm just going to hella confuse everyone by saying, don't say something, but say something. Don't say condolences. No.
I get confused easy. You haven't confused me, so you should be right. But like, I mean, it's a good tip, isn't it?
You know, confused easy. Do you know where you are?
Yes. But, you know, that's a really good tip. What you're saying there. You know, like, you know, someone might be watching this who's been in a similar situation, but you know, or know someone who's in a similar situation, and you know, now they know. Offer, you know, what do you need?
What do you need?
I'll come round and do your washing, or go to the shop. You know, little things like that, I guess, could help. But you know,
that was the main thing, and I think as well, because I mean, keeping on top of the house is something I'm like.
I fucking hate it.
I find it a bit of therapy for me. I'm like,
if I've got nothing to do on a Sunday, I deep clean the whole house. All washing everything.
Don't judge me, but if I had enough money, I'd have a cleaner.
I mean, I would. Wouldn't we all?
I mean,
let's be honest.
But also do some deep cleaning myself as well. I feel like doing. I'd like someone just to wash my dishes for me.
I've got a dishwasher. You not got a dishwasher? I can't live anywhere that doesn't have a dishwasher. I just refuse.
My kitchen's too small.
I don't have a dishwasher either.
I don't.
All right for some,
someone's
Toby.
doing all right.
Skateboarding is not organised. There's no one making sure you're doing anything correctly. You know, you can go out and you can do drugs and you can get drunk and you can smoke and you can do whatever you want, and there's no one that's going to tell you you shouldn't do that. For sure, drinking and partying and doing whatever I wanted because no one was telling me otherwise. But then when I transitioned from that young kid into like the mid-range of the pack, that's kind of when I started to get anxiety about heaps of different stuff. Like, oh, I've got my name written on a board. Do people like the way I skate? Like, do people like me? Like, am I a good person or am I a good skateboarder? My anxieties all kind of meshed together, like when I blew my knee out and my wife was pregnant, started to worry about all sorts of stuff. The future, my body, money, where do you go from that point forward? And up until kind of I blew my knee out, I didn't ever have a thought about mental health. I was always just happy-go-lucky. I would 100% mask any feelings of doubt, anxiety, worry by drinking or doing drugs. And instead of just chasing the thing that I loved most, which was skateboarding, I would get really pissed and party and turn it into like a wild bender that would just, I'd never be able to get off the merry-go-round. I'd just be like, oh, I'm hungover, I feel like shit. I can't skate, I don't want to skate, I'll have a beer.
You know, something that I really, I think, struggled with after Ben, I had I was a hairdresser, I was doing hairdressing at the time, and then this woman who was a counsellor came in and she said, I know if you've been going through a bereavement, I said to say to my clients, I don't want them knowing, just say I've gone for a family bereavement. And then when I came in, this therapist said, I'd been doing her hair for a few years, and she was like, this is the 7 stages of grief and this is what you're going to go through. And I literally went back, I was like, how can you tell me I'm going to feel anger, sadness? And I literally screwed it up and put it in the bin. And since I've been doing my training, I base bereavement counselling around, it's called the continued bond. And that love that you have for that person doesn't go. And I think I couldn't wrap my head around, Ben's not here, but I'm like, his skin vessel isn't here, but I can continue that bond with him. And that love, I just didn't know where. I think a lot of grief is, you don't know where to put that love. That love you had, and you're like, where do I go with this? And it's continuing it in a different way. So the continued bond is something I've really, I've implemented into my work, and something that I do. Like, I chat to Ben all the time now, you know, I'll be out and about. People probably think I need to be in more intense therapy because I'll be like walking along chatting, but it's something that's really helped me. You know, their skin vessel might not be here, but you know, we're made up of energy. That's like, it's science. That doesn't go. So it's just, I think, continuing that in your own personal way.
I saw a story recently about, I think it's somewhere in Derbyshire, you might have to Google this, Sean, but they've installed a post box where people can post letters to their lost loved ones.
Wow.
And that's a form, I guess, similar to what you're saying about, you know, like how you...
It's like I was saying,
how
like,
you personally grieve is different to how somebody else might grieve. And
just sending random messages on WhatsApp, like I do that all the time, But one of it's a weird one. I spoke about it. I don't know if I spoke about it on here, but one of the times it like properly hit me after his death was, I was like somewhere on the internet and I saw that a band was playing, and I was like, oh, Sean really likes these. I'm going to send it to Sean and we'll go see. And then obviously went to send it and I was like, and then that's when it hit me properly, and it fucked me over, like fucked me up bad. I was just like, oh, you're not there. But then it took me like ages to be like, well, you are, because when I go see all of our mates and like they all do like, he was a big like dog lover. We all like take like big dog walks and stuff like that in events, and guest tattoo artists will do tattoos in his style for people. So it's always still there. And I was on a train and there was like this little pug dog sat there, French bulldog, and it was like on one of those 4-seater tables, and its eyes were just popping over. And I took a picture and I sent it on WhatsApp. I was like, you'd love this. Put it like that. Just little stuff like that.
And I think
that's so nice.
I think looking for the signs, that's something I think with Benny, I always think at certain times, and I remember someone saying to me, just look for the signs. And it's those little bits that actually, through those really unbelievably heartbreaking times, that get you through. And that's something I kept doing. Something that really, really helped me.
Isn't that around like, this is me just thinking about that connection, and it's just being part of that connection to that person, and then just being still connected, keeping them
alive,
in you, and that sort of, that it's just a transition of body, and sound like a right hippie.
I agree,
fucking hippies. Jesus.
But just I was just thinking about you saying about writing texts or writing the letters to people, but that's another thing that we sort of encourage, is about that process of writing things down. Sometimes talking's not
And again, that probably would have been frowned upon up until recent times, you know, like the elder generation would be like,
but then we've got like when we did workshop with Brian Anderson, and he's like, I like to journal, I like to look forward to things, I write it down because this is what I like to do, and I like to see what have I done and reflect back on it. You know, he talks about it, and if BA can do it,
I think it's having an outlet, isn't it? And I think something that Ben with his, you know, with skating for him was a huge outlet, but something Ben was really not good at was talking. He'd obviously drink quite heavily, and then he'd open up to me, and then it was I'd try and revisit a conversation with him, probably not in the best way, coming from a place of me being like, I think frustrated that I wasn't helping him enough, and more that I was like, you keep saying these things to me when you're really drunk, and I don't know where to go with this. But I think and it was skating, I think, was his outlet. But almost for sure, not. But I think something that's definitely helped me is writing. And I think at night as well, I go to bed and I found myself, especially, you know, in the deep depths of grief, and even just if I've got a lot on, I'll like ruminate, and I go to bed and I'm like, you know, catastrophized thinking is huge. But something that I watched actually a video, and like like visuals work quite well. I'm like, okay, if I can picture something, I'm like, right. And my tutor played it at college, and it was like, imagine you're sat at a bus stop and then the bus is going round, and these are all of your worries going round, and you can get on that bus and you just keep going round with them, or you just sit and you're like, I'm not getting on that. And most nights now, if I can feel myself, I'm like, start being like, my God, I can feel my like cortisol levels going up. I'm starting to get like, God, I've got this deadline, this. I'm like, I'm not going on that bus. And actually, try it. It's don't get on the worry bus. I mean, it's sometimes not as easy as that, but something I'm like, just trying to ground myself a bit more. Writing is just a huge part of that. It's a, you know, amazing outlet. So I guess what's finding what works for you.
Yeah, I guess it's just coping strategies, isn't it? Yeah. And what works for you, and everyone's going to be different.
You were talking about like signs, like seeing signs of people that might, like, if you don't mind talking about it, what were some of the signs you said, like with drinking and stuff? And they're obviously in the Skateboarder's Companion, and for people that might not read that magazine, what are some of the signs? Like, I guess there's not really, like, I don't want to say like a clear sign, but what are some of the signs that someone might be in that headspace of like, thinking like that?
The training.
We can do my lived experience. Ben, you can do the training stuff. Yeah,
do it.
So with the training, we talk about using your senses. So it's things that you can feel, things that you can sense from other people. So it's like that intuition. You can feel something, like within you can feel like how they turn up. But it's not easy. But we can intuit from people. We know if people are nervous. Like we can tell, we see if people are anxious, we can sort of get that.
Well, it's that whole energy is off. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing we look at, the energy. You know, you just get a sense of people, especially if you know them. Then we use, let me think about things that you can hear them say. So it's what kind of things might they be saying, the things that they're thinking of ending their own lives. So, you know, things like...
hopelessness.
So the senses is hopelessness and worthlessness. That's what you'll really want to pick up on, a sense of hopelessness and worthlessness. But they might say things like, "Oh, soon all my troubles will be over. No one cares about, like, no one will have to worry about me anymore. I know how I'm going to deal with this." So they could be actually saying things that are quite explicit, but you might not just if you don't know what those things are, then we talk about things that you can see them do. Okay, I always go like this. Okay, things that you can see them do. So, and that's like, you know, behaviours that you see someone doing, these signs that you think that they might be thinking of suicide, and those behaviours can be things like, you know, risky behaviours. And we always talk about, when we do the training, I'd like to go in detail about this with skateboarding, because the whole part of skateboarding is doing risky behaviours, doing physically risky stuff. But it's about when you sort of if you combine that with your sense of feeling and intuition, like that person's, someone on the training went, oh yeah, skating beyond your means. They're doing something that's just like, that looks a bit too risky, that you're like, they're not going to be able to do that. You know, increased drug, alcohol use, reckless behaviours, fights. And one of the things that came up on the training when I did it with team manager. The first one we did with team managers, and Rob was on it, and he, was the giving away possessions. And Rob was like this kind of like, fuck, Ben tried to give me his computer.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you know the one thing? I remember Rob saying that, but I'm like, Ben always was giving his crap away. And I'm like, what's this? Which I don't know if I'm like, my God, but even when he was younger and stuff, even with food, he'd eat half it, he'd have crumbs around his mouth, he'd be like, do you want the rest of this? I'm like, you're right, Ben, I'm fine. You've just been tucking into that pasty. But yeah, that's another thing.
When he was just like, why do I want that?
Well, Horsey mentioned it.
I just want to say we had
didn't
it very briefly with Horsey. They were at a barbecue, and Ben was wearing like one of his favourite hats, and I think it was Horsey's nephew said something about his hat, and he was just like, oh, you can just have it.
Yeah.
And he was like, I didn't.
And I guess maybe because Ben was really generous anyway.
Yeah, he was.
You know, maybe that people didn't see that, or was it at that point,
or even
was
say
he
like, why are you
thinking that?
giving?
I don't
Why
know.
do you want to give me that?
Yeah.
Questioning it, I guess.
I know, and I think. Sorry, Sue, do you want to carry on before I start coming in?
No, there was just the one last thing that we could look at. The signs is about things that you can find out about someone, things that you know have happened or will happen or maybe happening to someone.
Yeah.
Things that are like, oh, that can be painful, like things like public humiliation, illness, financial issues, those kind of things that you're like, oh, that's a bit sort of into the housing and employment or relationship breakdowns and grief, these kind of things that you think that someone's experienced that and that can unsettle them, and that those are the 4 areas that we look at.
We'll detail that more in the description of this. We'll put all the places people can find out more information, and
we've got them.
Kind of thing.
We've got the signs and stuff. So we can do.
Yeah. We'll link it all up, so anyone who's watching this who wants to know more, they can look in the description and do that.
And then what to do
if
you do notice this. So
the main bit at the end,
but it's like you kind of they work together.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there were so many signs with Ben that I spent a really large part of after losing him, like, what the hell how did I not? I had guilt, I had mad amounts of shame, huge amounts of guilt. I think that how close I was to Ben, and that he was, explicitly saying to me he wanted to end his life, but he was doing it when he was really drunk. And so I was like, I just thought, you would never do that to me. You'd never do that to me. And it's never just one thing. It's always exactly like Sue says, there's all these different things that could be happening. Someone doesn't wake up one day and think, I'm severely suicidal and I want to end my life. Like, there are things that always, come into play. And after Ben, I think the ripple effect is something that is, we shine quite a light on, because after I lost Ben, I just plummeted and I struggled hugely with suicidal ideation. I had a plan to end my life. Which was really, really difficult to get to, because I think seeing the impact of what happened to my family, and also I was petrified of what I was experiencing. And I think it was another sense of being like, just how low Ben got to go through with taking his life. And so, the ripple effect is huge. And I think what I was experiencing, I was just so unbelievably lucky that it was happening during COVID, and my cousin was in the room next door to me, because without her, I wouldn't be here today. But she was just on suicide watch for like 6 months. But medication, therapy, and support, and having someone to connect with. I think she was recognizing the signs. She acted on it, it was how she asked me. What I think I will never forget. I was sat in a room we sat in our living room, and she just said, like, really calmly, and just said, Lucy, are you thinking of suicide? And I was like, she's asked me, and I was like, yeah. And then I just broke down, and I was like, someone's actually asked me. I'm like, I am. And I was kind of like, I was shit scared as well, because I was like, I'm admitting something that I was like, my God, what, seeing what all my family have gone through since we've lost Ben, I guess feeling like a burden. I was all these things that, experiencing all these things that I'm, we're flying the flag to kind of, break through with Ben. But I think after that, things obviously got extremely difficult, but got so much easier. And then there was a plan, there was support structure in place. I felt seen, I felt heard, and there wasn't shame around it. So I think it was part as well going through that, and with my coming out the other end with chess, which is, I think, giving me a real new other side of the lived experience of just how bloody important this foundation is. So yeah, seeing two kind of sides of the coin, I suppose, experiencing it and then being in the ripple and then being on the other side. So yeah.
I've got a lot of talking about Ben growing up, getting into skateboarding, becoming the world-renowned skateboarder that he was. I wanted to dive into that a little bit as well.
Yeah, okay.
But I didn't know where to place that in, because that's something that we usually go into
at the beginning, but this is different. This is different.
Yeah.
We can go.
Right, let's talk about suicide.
Yeah, me too. So like,
Straight in.
But it'd be nice to know about how, like seeing him get into skating and where he went with it.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I always find really interesting, especially with someone like Ben, who, he reached the top within our game. Like, how was that within your family? How was it sort of perceived?
It's fucking hard to do for someone in the UK to do
also
that.
coming from Walton on the Naze.
Exactly.
Well.
That's what I was going to say. No disrespect to that lovely, lovely town.
What do you call it? The
Sewer of the South. Walton's up there with the Sewer of the South.
But
no offence to anyone from Essex.
Being a skateboarder...
What's the percentage of British skateboarders that make it to an
It's
American
so
market?
minimal.
We've been on front cover of Thrasher.
But yeah, not only that, but
Exactly.
on the global scale. Yeah. You know what I mean?
How was it perceived? Because, obviously he's been doing it a long time and... and then him moving to America, but your family and
it's a really interesting one because growing up, when Ben got into, he was completely obsessed with it from the minute he went to Brighton skate park with one of his mates when he was in primary school. Saw some skateboarders and then was like, I want to skateboard.
So this is something we talk about quite a lot, that when skateboarders, when they see it, it's like,
I want that.
It's like
there's an
vision.
immediate click.
And
yeah.
do you think that is maybe something to do with that
ADHD.
kind of ADHD, obsessive behaviour?
Totally.
It's gotta be,
But now I look back, I look at Ben, I'm like, my Lord, I wish he'd got that support in place. But when we are like, that just, it wasn't really a thing when we were at school at that age. And seeing Ben, I think now, especially with all of my learnings and what I'm doing, I'm like, hindsight's a bastard, to be honest, because you start looking and unpicking that. Yeah, but he was absolutely obsessed with it. And I used to get so frustrated because my weekends were just going down to, Ben was skating at a skate park and I'd be having to, I'd be sitting there. So to be honest, from my point of view, Ben tried to get me to, I skated with him for a bit. I was absolutely shocking. I really was. But that's something that we did together for a bit. And I think he was just completely obsessed with it. He was watching, in the mornings, he'd just be sat there eating his cereal, watching VHS of just, skate clips.
He was a proper skate rat, wasn't he?
He was, literally was. He was obsessed. And it's really funny because there wasn't even a skate park in Walton. It wasn't even a skate park. So he was going to Brighton with friends. And then there was this spot in Walton where Ben was just skating loads. They were just kind of like a DIY skate spot. And then the council put a petition out to make it in something. And Ben was like, let's make it into a skate park. And got loads of people to sign it. And then eventually it did. And then he was there for ages. And it was, months. And that came, spoke to someone and said, I think you need to come and check this guy out, this young boy out.
Everything I hear about it seems like Munson was like the kingpin of kind of finding Ben at that time.
Yeah, he was.
Helping him.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because who the hell is going to come down to Walton on the Naze and look at, Ben skating aged 9 or whatever
Sergeant
it was.
Munson is.
Yeah, exactly. Or for then it's mad when you think about where his skate journey took him.
Yeah.
And he started off from, we were council estate kids from Essex. And I think it was really interesting because we didn't really know anything, me and my family, about skating. Yeah. So it's not until, we started the foundation and realised, wow, Ben was huge. For me, he's my brother Ben.
I was just about to say, did you ever see it, obviously being in skating, but with the foundation as well, the amount of people across the world that know Ben.
Yeah.
He's got to be, it's like the most well-known UK skateboarder.
And one thing which always helped with him being as known as he was is because he was a nice dude.
Yeah.
And everyone loved Ben.
He was humble, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And,
So did that only settle in after his passing that you seen like how fucking big he had? Like, so obviously Thrasher front cover's huge.
Yeah, but
then-
but just 3, wasn't it? He had 3 Thrashers.
Yeah.
Front covers.
I think
that's ridiculous.
I think it was, especially because I was, like I said earlier, me and Ben were really, really tight when we were younger, and then he was off skating. We kind of not drifted. We were all super tight, but then I got into I was going raving in Ibiza, and I was very much like, Ibiza's my life, and so Ben skateboarding. We were like,
imagine saying that.
Toby, you said that earlier.
Ibiza's my life.
That's all I'm going to loop.
You just said it.
That's all I'm going to loop on the trailer.
Ibiza's my life. Ibiza's my life, man. I'm very much. We were completely opposite, you know. Although we were like, our sense of humour and just what we were like together never changed, which is what I loved. Apart from we scrapped hugely when we were younger. Every day we were scrapping. That stopped. But we kind of went.
Did you ever get him in a headlock and do that thing like Rob?
Yeah. Hell yeah. I remember one. Yeah, actually, I won't go into the fights that we used to have. They've been forever. But I then skateboarding I didn't really know huge amounts of it. You know, my kind of I wasn't hanging around with skaters or anything. I just knew that Ben was pretty big. And then you talk to someone that was into skating, they'd be like, fuck, your brother's Ben Raemers. And then I was like, oh, it's kind of a big deal. And then when he was on King of the Road, he came to stay with me when I was in Ipswich, and he was like, I was really poorly. He was really sweet. I had like an iPad on. He was like, Lucy, he hated me watching, or any of us being like, Ben, fucking hell. We'd be like, no. And he was like, do you want to watch King of the Road? It's quite funny. And I watched him on it, and I was like, my brother's really funny. I was like, yeah, Ben, there's a clip of him and Jackson, and they were in the, what's the Breaking Bad?
I've just watched that, and he's like, I've not drank for 12 hours. And they're all just so dehydrated on the side of the road.
Which is just so mad when you think about it. But he was like, Jackson, they were like, you can unzip them or something if Jackson lands a trick. And then Ben was like, everyone was getting really frustrated because they're like, just fucking hurry up. We've only been eating sour sweets with no drink for how long? And then Ben was like, Jackson, you can do it, man. I'm not going to take this off. And I was like, that's my brother. Yeah. That is my brother he was just beautiful. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but then I think it was after when we lost Ben, and then I went to his funeral, and I will never forget getting out the car. And then one of my brother, Ollie, one of his mates, said he looks over and just saw me go, oh my fucking God, because there was just hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people. And I was just like, now, wow.
And not just that, but there was a lot of world famous pro skaters which came over for it.
To the sewer of the south, to Suffolk.
Yeah.
And those fuckers will not spend money to travel anywhere.
No, that's what I'm saying.
And they did.
And that is just a sign of how well respected he was.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. What's your story about being on what was it? You weren't down in the city. What was it?
Oh, Big Push, when we had before everyone had mobile phones, and we had two cars, and we had walkie-talkies between the two cars, and everyone was just hurling abuse at each other. But we give it to Ben and go on, Ben, and he'd be like, oh, hello, how are you? being super polite, because he was super polite.
He was really
I remember
polite.
the first time I met him at Stevenage with Munson and Carl. And
Ben was super polite. Munson was like, who the fuck are you?
we were filming, and Munson, I can't remember how it came up, but he basically I could see him talking to Ben, and he was basically telling Ben, go over to Toby and ask him politely if he'll film your trick. And I wish I've still got the tape somewhere, and it's the first session, and he must have been 12, 13, and he's doing it in the bathtub at Stevenage, doing leans, towels and stuff. And that's the first time I met him, and then didn't see him for a few years after that. But he was so polite.
Is that when he said he came up? He was like, "Excuse me,
would you mind filming this?" Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, of course I will, dude. Like, no
Breaks
problem.
your heart, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I know.
But also, he was a right prick. At home.
Okay, so that's what I was going to say.
Let's get real.
No, but he was so polite, like to everyone I saw. You know, he was always super polite. But then you saw him sometimes with Carl, and they would you could see that kind of
with each other.
Yeah, and obviously your experience is completely different, you know, like
he was a little shit.
Yeah.
He was such a little shit, and I think it's really funny because, you know, and it naturally happens, doesn't it? You know, when you lose someone so close to you, and you're like, you remember all these beautiful parts of them, but then also I think now when my grief's at, I'm like, it's nice remembering how much of a prick he was at times, because it's like, he was a dick. He was like, you know, we were like twins. I always say, you know, we said we should have been twins. I mean, we practically were, but then what came with how close we were is, just constant scrapping and him just being a dick. Like, I'd be at school and I'd be like, oh, there it is. I remember someone said he'd done something. This girl was like, Ben said something mean to me. I was in year 7 and Ben was in year 9, and our school was split into 7, 8, 9. Then you had 10, 11, 6, 4. And I was like, I'll deal with him. And I walked up to him, and Ben, he was on the playing field. And there was like the bit where we do the run and jump. Is it like a sand? What's it like, long jump, and then you've got all the sand. And I was like, Ben, bloody blah said you're being mean to her. You can't speak to girls like that. And then he literally had all his mates with him, and he just went, high up, put his leg out and just flew me into the sand pit, and I fell, and I just remember being like, you arsehole, and ran off. It was such a brother thing to do. So, there were those bits which I look back at now quite fondly though, but mortifying at the same time, you know.
So when he was reaching that level of international superstar skateboarder, was you seeing his output in skating like firsthand? Was you like, fucking hell, Ben's now here? Like, did he ever say stuff to you like, oh, I'm just going to this country and I'm doing this? Because he was doing a lot with
he was. I would pick in
between breaks of Ibiza, you know, would you go into the shop on the
on
the next morning on the come down and be like, oh, he's got another front cover there?
I've made out like I was this absolute Ibiza hippie guru. I was just
Ibiza's your life.
And it's Ibiza's my life.
Ibiza is my life.
I've got it tattooed on my arm across there. Ibiza for life. I remember he'd be like, oh, I'm kind of, he downplayed it. He'd say, I'm in America, I'm on a skate trip, but I never really knew to the extent of what he was doing. And I mean, my best friend Goody would go and we'd pick him up sometimes from the airport. He'd be like, Lucy, do you want to? Be like, no, it's fine. I'd go get from Heathrow and be like, how was it? He'd be like, yeah, it was all right. And he was so unbelievably humble. And I remember actually someone was talking to me, I don't know if it was at Ben's funeral. And he was with Enjoy and they were at Barcelona. And then this guy took his son. He was like, I really want Ben to sign my board. He's like, Ben might be busy, so you might not be able to get him to, sign it. And he was like, okay. And then the guy said they were queuing up. And then he said, he turned around to look at his phone and then literally looks back. And Ben had his arm around this little boy, because he saw the boy standing and he was like, hello, mate. Yeah. And I thought that is such a, it's Ben to a T.
Such a Benny thing.
Yeah.
Because Ben's obviously, in skateboarding, there's like this little hierarchy of like, you've got your top tier skateboarders, and Ben is in that spot of top tier skateboarders.
Yeah, I mean, he was an
A. You look at the people that you skate with and you're like, fucking hell, it's like you've got, the A-lister of skateboarding. But the nice side of the A-lister on skateboarding, not like the douchey fucking... Well, like you said, he could be a douche as well.
He was a massive douche at times, lest we forget. But I didn't actually ever have really... I think I never had any idea just how huge he was. And I don't know if that's coming from a place of me not... Probably quite embarrassing for Sorry Benny Boy not having much of an idea at that point around...
Well, you must have seen the Thrasher covers, right?
Yeah, I did. But then I was like,
isn't it? If you're not in it,
I wasn't in it. I was like,
And he's not the sort of person who would have phoned home going, "Guess what, guys? I just got Thrasher." What?
No, I mean,
I would call my mum. It'd be on Instagram. It'd be on Facebook. It'd be here.
Yeah,
massive.
It wasn't. I just had no idea. And then now, me and my partner live together. And we had a housemate at the time living with us, and I've got Ben's King of the Road trophy. But we laugh at it though, because it's got like a truck thing on it. For some reason, that was split in half when we picked Ben's stuff up. I was like, I kind of like that split because it's such a Ben thing to being like, why is half of this not quite there? And then our housemate, a really good friend, Tom was like, fucking hell, Luce, that's amazing you've got that here. So it's history, right? And that's something that me and Jake have got forever. I mean, I've got lots of Ben's ashes as well. When I moved in with Jake, I was like, just what's that, Ben? Just don't worry about him. Like Jake was he's super chill with it, but I think that's another thing. Something around ashes, and people are like, do you not want to get rid of? No, and I'm like, hell no. That's all I've got really left of Ben, and me and Jake are cooking. We've got Benny boy with us, so that's something I think I'm gonna. Yeah, keep forever.
Again, that's probably another stigma thing, isn't it? People have just got a bit icky about it.
You need to have, get rid of it. It's the closure. And actually, no, I think as long as I'm not taking him in my backpack everywhere with me, there's that kind of unhealthy relationship there with the ashes. I think it's something that I want, and Jake's, so accepting of it. So I think something we'll have in our house forever and take him along the way with us.
One thing I did want to talk about, and this we might not put this in because we're probably going to name drop some people and maybe
name and shame.
Talk about certain people being not.
I mean, they're making songs about it, so.
But do you think with Ben, and obviously that the level he was at, did you ever discuss with him, or did you ever see signs that he was feeling the pressure of, because he had a lot of big sponsors, didn't he?
Yeah.
Do you think that was putting him in a bad place as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think he was hugely struggling, and the pressures of what were coming with that. I mean, Ben was masking obviously hugely with alcohol, struggling. But I think there wasn't that education piece wasn't there, and that wasn't that piece of being like, mate, you okay? Let's have a chat. What's going on here? How are you feeling about having to go on this trip? How are you feeling financially with sponsorship money and where you're at? Where are you at with your career? How are you feeling in this? That wasn't there. And I think Ben, again, linking back to him struggling to talk, he was never going to sit down with them, especially as that was his life, right? Yeah. Skating was Ben's life. Ben didn't know anything other than skating. And I think for him to sit down and say, I'm not coping right now, there's so much stigma attached to that. Yeah. And two, it's like, fuck, what else am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. And if
he's injured as well, I think he missed out on I think there's a video somewhere where saying he missed out on a big trip because his knee or something was injured as well. And, if you're injured and you're not skating and you can't skate and you can't go on trips, it's like, and you've got all that free time in the day, you're kind of just itching, sitting around waiting to do something.
Well, that's why I've got a question here about, like the routine of a professional skateboarder doesn't exist.
But that's why we did the checking in films. Yeah. Because that was about, sorry to interrupt.
No, but it's really relevant what you're saying. Because
just bring that microphone a bit closer to you. No, you get comfortable. You bring it closer.
The one especially I was watching with Casper, and he talks about, he writes the list the night before, like that's really important. And that's what I was kind of getting around to, that Ben's lifestyle was a very unique lifestyle that very few people get to experience. You're getting paid to essentially play with a skateboard and travel around the world and stuff. And with that comes a very loose structure. It's basically you're skating, then you're partying. Yeah. Where am I going with this? But
how did that kind of maybe impact?
Yeah, because that's something that people don't talk about, because it's always just been seen as, fuck yeah, 7-day weekend, I'm going skating and partying every night. But now, and I'm it's probably a lot to do with, what happened. But I think the attitudes are changing a lot.
You're seeing people
within
live
skateboarding.
A lot of a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So sorry,
I suppose we're realising that structure is really important.
Exactly.
Self-regulation.
Yeah.
As well. That's like I was saying. That's why we did the checking in, because it's like if you can embed some structure. If Casper can embed some structure, hopefully other people can do that. And
but I thought that was really interesting in his one, where he's like, writes a list before going to bed on his whiteboard, and it's like, drink a litre of water, don't go on your phone for the first hour. Like really simple, achievable things which everyone could do, really. Totally. They might struggle to do some of those things when they're really down, but that's a really,
and also by writing it down and ticking it off, you feel a sense of self-achievement, and so that gives you confidence. So you've got self-efficacy, and that gives you the motivation and the impetus to go forward and to give yourself other goals.
And I think something as well, when I was in a really, really tough place, something that really simple ones, like drinking a litre of water stuff, but even if it was just 2 things on there in a day, being like, right, I'm going to shower today and I'm going to just go and sit on the balcony for 5 minutes just to get some air. And you do those small, so it's those small, like, small wins are huge wins, especially.
Some people, they're not small.
No,
as well.
but yeah, that was huge,
they can be small, but it's but you feel like you're achieving something and doing something that...
But do you think that lifestyle was
so
having a negative effect on how Ben was? And
Ben falling in, like, Ben, it was his career was the best and worst thing that could have happened to him because of so much I think not being diagnosed with certain things and unbelievable, amounts of trauma like that Ben hadn't worked through and processed and got support with, and that having that no structure just fed into him being, alcohol so accessible for him. And the amount of times I have had, so if anyone watching this, please just think twice before you say, he had everything, because I've had so many people come up to me going, yeah, I had someone the other week come up to me and say, well, I'm a bit shocked really, he had it all. And I'm like, did he though?
Bit of a slap in the face.
Did he have it all? Yeah. And it really, really is one of the most triggering things to hear from sitting from my being like, really think about what you're saying in that moment.
It's like saying it with such disappointment.
Yeah, being like, God, he had it all. And it's like, God, it totally did. It played, he could wake up when he wanted. Everyone would be working. Like, there were times when I'd go and see him I said this numerous times, I'd go and see him of a weekend in London. He'd be like, just stay longer. I'm like, Ben, I've got work. And he's like, stay, just, I'm like, I need to get back. And it's because I think he was, hugely struggling, but also that there was so much isolation in that as well for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially when he was back over here.
Yeah.
When he was in like, when he spent a lot of time over in California and stuff, he would have been with people who had similar lifestyles, and it's probably easier for him to not feel lonely. But when you come back over here,
skateboarding in the UK, it's not like the US, is it?
No,
so
that's
it's
what I'm
like
saying.
A lot of professional skateboarders in the UK, especially if they're still pro in the UK with professional companies, they still have to work because the money here isn't as great as the States.
But what I was sort of getting round to wanting to talk about was, like, so he had a lot of high profile sponsors, and you might not want to put this in, but I heard lots of them not being supportive and knowing there was issues with Ben, but not doing anything about it. And I just wanted to, I
kind of feel like that comes from not knowing what to do as
so
well. It's the same.
Is that because of they didn't know how to
them.
Or I don't know.
I'm being too nice, but
it's good. That's a good point. But I think
maybe one side of it is.
One side of it, definitely. I think it's a mixture of maybe not knowing what to say, and maybe a mixture of, I don't really have time to deal with this. I don't have time to deal with your stuff. And actually, you're part of my circus. I need you to do this. I need you to be here. I need you to act a certain way for live up to this, Ben, you're stupid, which Ben just... he was kind of very, I think he was painted in a way that got really fucking boring for Ben.
So because I've just been in San Jose, and so been with the Enjoy a lot and stuff, and I feel like there is something that's like, that was part of it was about presenting that way of being.
Yeah.
Then, and maybe people not being able to now keep up with actually, like, this is what's going on in real life now. That could have been the thing then. That was the representation, that was the partying, that was the drinking, that had on. You can't change that, but you can
change now.
You can change now, and actually, that's not quite as cool. I don't know what to say,
I
but it's not
agree.
quite as cool as it was. Like getting smashed and like injured and like it's not quite as like. It's just not as cool. It's like everyone.
It just becomes so boring.
It's just
like you're just dry.
Yeah, it does, and I think I think that's actually linking into, I think, with Ben. To be fair, actually, who am I saying? Ben would be like pub, and I'd be like pub, and so actually I'm like, yeah, because I'd come and see him, and it'd be a weekend, so I'd be like, I've worked a week, I'm hanging out with Ben. So we'd go and sit at the pub, and actually what I didn't realise was this was Ben's every day. It was every day, and I had no idea what I was, I don't know, I guess what I should have, I mean, if I'd to be fair, if I'd said to Ben, let's just go for a walk, he'd be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
But I had no idea, you know.
And also, I mean, he was being paid.
Yeah.
He had money to fund that lifestyle of just going to the pub every day. And
yeah. I mean, have you seen the cost of a pint in London now? I can't afford to go have a pub.
£7.80 or something like that.
Wait, how much does it cost?
I mean, our local in the Nags, isn't it? It's nearly like 50. Well, do you remember when you got the? I went with Suze recently. We did rounds. I think me and Jake went then. He gets it's about £14 something. No, 14
a drink
for two.
Yeah, 7.
Is that similar?
Yeah,
Yeah, £7.50 per pint.
It's fucking mental,
it's ridiculous.
Which,
But it's not, or it's not ridiculous, and actually it means that people don't go and have 10 in a night, and then and it's not, and it's like, so
people are just drinking more at home.
Maybe
pre-drinks.
Yeah.
I'm going back to when I was 18. I used to go out clubbing in liquid pre-drinks. I'm going backwards. Maybe get that out, don't they? I'm painting myself in a terrible
Is that like Liquid and Envy?
Yeah.
Grew
up in Essex. It's the best thing ever.
That's what you'll do down there, isn't it?
Yeah. Little dance around a handbag.
2 decades of just filling my body with, what they say is a depressant, and I ended up depressed, not only depressed, but like miserable and isolated and alone, and couldn't like form real connections with people, which is a lonely place to be, Eventually, towards the end of my drinking, I was making very poor decisions, and I thought I was crazy, so I started going to therapy. And after a few months, I think I had maybe my 2nd or 3rd black eye from falling down drunk, and the therapist was like, I can't help you anymore, you need to stop drinking. And I was like, oh, finally, somebody's noticed. It took that long.
Who are they talking to now as far as doing like any products and stuff? Is it just the foundation as a whole? They come to you and they're like, we want to do a tribute board, tribute wheel. And do you think that is something that's going to continue?
Yeah, we will.
Because it should do.
We will. Yeah, we're going to hopefully do a new board for Ben's birthday.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Because this one was for his birthday a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, maybe. So hopefully we'll do another one. We can do a board for his birthday.
Yeah.
Which will. This one is not for skateboarding on. This is for display.
I was going to ask you, like, the shape that they were printed on was a very peculiar shape. Was that because
we don't want it to be skated on?
Yeah, so was that was a direct thing when we're going to make this look as unskateable as possible?
They're not going to be they're not for skating. They're for display for shop skate parks.
As a resource for kids.
As a resource for people.
Come in,
exactly.
Scan the bottom, along with the stickers as well.
Just put your face on it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they're display boards. They're not for. That's the idea. Maybe we'll do some grip tape.
Grip tape be a good one.
Yeah.
With a QR code on.
Have you got the book as well? I've got the book.
Yeah.
The big coffee table book.
Yeah, great book.
I think we got given a bunch for a skateboarding competition. I was just like, I'll take one of those.
Yeah, good.
For myself.
Good.
It's like sat on the sat at home. Yeah.
Converse are super supportive.
Okay,
They really invest. Like they've funded our projects. Vans have also funded our projects as well. So Vans funded the counselling. Wanted to get involved. We were part of the shop riots, so that we had our logo as part of it, and that's just that awareness raising piece.
Yeah.
Converse, like Lee, I think he was like, "I'd be super pissed if you didn't do anything with this.
Yeah.
Like, if you did something with someone else or something like that."
But that's good then, isn't it?
Yeah. They recognise that the importance of what we're doing. Sorry.
I think as well, I think a part like obviously the awareness and everything else we're doing around it is like, at the heart of the foundation, but actually like Ben's legacy. I think that's it's something, when we started, obviously it was just so fresh after we'd lost Ben. But I think the growth that is happening within the foundation that's the most amazing thing. And I think Benny's legacy carrying on is like the best thing ever. So I think that's something that, Ben, like I said earlier, continue bond, he's always there. But I think this is just making it really like, he's there.
And I think as an organisation, that gives us there's an authenticity to what we do.
Yeah.
It's like it's grounded on real life, real events. Something's happened, a real person, and it enables that message to be shared.
So I think it's really good the people that you've got.
The Chris Pullman one as well. I love Chris Pullman.
It's like world famous, high profile celebrity skateboarders who are telling they're explaining their struggles, which sort of, what's the word, like humanizes or just makes people aware that it's okay.
Destigmatizes.
Yeah, okay, that's a better way of putting
Puts it on a real level, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes it, people realise that even if you have, like people were saying to you about Ben had everything, even if you've got these big, heavy shoe deals and you're travelling, you can still struggle with mental health issues. But so talk to us about the Smile interviews and who was the first one.
And how do they come about? Have people approach you for them, or?
This is where I'm going to have to really channel my memory 5 years back. Aaron and Nick, I'm forever grateful for them. I think maybe it might have been Aaron first of all, who obviously Ben's friend did. Living with his own issues with alcohol, he wanted to share his story, and that was.
Is this Aaron Harrington?
Sorry, Aaron Harrington.
Yeah.
Who is like he started. I think it was him or Nick. This is where I get a bit. I'll get told off by Rob about not remembering what to do. So one of the.
Well, Rob can always come on the podcast.
Shout out to Rob.
Shout out to Rob.
What's wrong with us two?
Nothing.
Thank you very much.
We're not enough.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, we're not enough.
So Aaron and then sharing, what happens what happens with his drinking, how it affected him, how sick he got from it as well, and that he had to stop drinking it. And then Nick, like you're saying about this perspective of having a lifestyle of a skater and getting paid to skate and go on trips and stuff. And Nick talking about having anxiety on skate trips.
That was a really interesting one because no one had ever really spoken about. It's always been sort of linked to substance abuse or drinking, but that just the anxiety.
Going on a skate trip. Like, you're going on a skate trip, you should be just excited.
And it's really interesting that.
But when you're on that level of that caliber of skateboarder and you've got to like show up and like perform and be really good, and if you don't, you're going to let these people down or these kids down, and this and that. I can see it being a don't know what the word is, but quite a
pressure.
I'm looking for. It's the pressure of it. So it's all good going on a skate trip, but when you've got to show up in front of crowds of people and perform your best, so easy, isn't it, for someone to just be like, oh, they were at that demo, he didn't skate all day, and then it's like a negative opinion of someone.
And even just not being at home can really there's can be so many different things that can really affect someone's stability and well-being and what makes them able to function through the day and some things like that. So I think that's what Nick talked about. And then like traveling, some people like it can trigger and it can upset people getting on a plane even. And that, and having to do that a lot. And so I suppose that
sitting in a van driving around America is exhausting, and it's loud all the time. There's so many, and if you want to sit there quiet, that you get to the end of the night and you lay down, and sometimes you just like, fucking hell, why have I came here, or like, what am I doing it for? I've had that before.
I've been because I've been to America twice now, and I went to Athens for the CPH last year. And I remember going out for dinner with like quite a few of the skaters that were out for like, I don't know if it's a tour or what. And sometimes at the end of the meal, they'd like just get on their phones and just be watching skate videos and I was like, okay, like we're out in a restaurant. I'm thinking, first of all, I was like, really just looking at your phone.
Do you know what to ask me about my day?
Do you want to chat? Obviously, it's like, of course, you just want to like chill out and relax,
turn
and
off from it.
And zone out and like do those things that you. I don't know. I mean, if that's what they're doing, but it's like, okay, you have to just do what you need to do to make yourself feel okay.
Yeah, and I think there is so much to be said for that kind of. I think I was saying earlier about like I'll just have at home if a Sunday and we're like, right, bit of a blitz, and then you sit and you're like, oh, that feeling, and if it's just quite quiet and you've got that like your surroundings, your environment, and I think. not that I've ever been on a skate trip, but I can imagine you're in a van. You've got all these different characters. The energies are all different. You're surrounding each other and you're almost trying to keep up. And actually to just be like, I just need a bit of downtime is going to land horrendously, you know?
Yeah, and I think probably there's a lot of big characters in skateboarding, and to maintain that image is probably quite exhausting if you're not like that outside of skateboarding. So if you're forced into that,
and if you haven't already got that understanding as to what your strategies are, your coping mechanisms are, you just go with it and don't have that time for like, this is what I need to do to make me feel good, and like that should be accepted.
And to have that exactly, so it's like having those strategies and actually being able to say, right, this is what I need to do, and having that first time of saying, this is what I need to do I just need to chill out. And if you're like, right, I know I need this, but I don't feel like I can say that, you know, I don't feel like I can say to these people.
Everyone just rips the shit out of
you. Yeah, exactly.
That's it, you know, like being confident enough to not give a fuck what the other people are going to say. If you say, I'm not coming out to dinner tonight, I'm going to lie on my bed and do a bit of staring.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I would be doing. Yeah. Because
it's a lot of work, skateboarding, like especially trips and stuff like that. It's a lot of work, and being around a lot of people, like I said, different energies and vibes from them.
But it was really good with Nick Jensen's while talking about that anxiety. So you had Aaron, Nick Jensen,
Chris Jones,
big up Chris Jones,
Chris Pullman,
Brian Anderson, Elissa. Fuck, you've had some really good
Fred's
people.
one, have you seen
Freddie
Fred's smile?
I met Fred Gall, and
that smile is like,
Fred's sick. Yeah, went round his house and just hung out with him, and I was like, fucking hell, it's Fred Gall.
But
then
I used to phone him up and be like, hey, my name's Susie, I'm the Ben Raemers Foundation. I just got your number from your friend in New York. Would you like to be on one of our snaps? He's like, fuck yeah, okay. I was like, okay.
So have they all been well up for it? Like all of them?
Everyone. Yeah, it's tricky getting like the challenges. I mean, I don't read it, but Rob, that's it. The challenge is just getting them pinned down to like a time and a place to work, and but they're definitely up for it.
I think it's better, and I think what Ben left behind, Ben's legacy, has just made this blow up because it's for Ben, right? And he was so I mean, well known, and just most people that I speak to are like, my God, your brother was amazing and just so lovely. Yeah. And I think what we're trying to do, and people are like, I want to do this. This is what I really want to help. So
I just remember the last two that I haven't mentioned as well. Sorry. John Rattray and Brandon Turner.
Oh, yeah.
As well. And they really talk about, they sort of like, I like the way they've moved, the films have moved along. So when we got to Brandon and John, it was all about healing and how they've done what they've done with themselves or for other people in terms of addressing some of the issues that they found within the scene or within themselves. So
yeah, they're dead interesting.
No, fine.
I was like, who? We've done 10. Well, we've got one more to come out. So we've got 9 are out.
Tell us and we'll bleep it out.
No, I can't tell you. I'm not allowed. I get in so much trouble.
We'll bleep it out. We'll never say.
It's me, okay? We didn't want to tell you. I've got picked up a skateboard.
Yeah, so I was like, who have we done? We've done Aaron and Nick, Chris and Chris, Fred and Brian.
Chris Jones was, I think Chris has become a really good friend of mine as well. He's a counsellor now, and he's an amazing human being, and really helped with the counselling pilot with what we were doing. He's really helped map that, like shape it with me and be like, right, we've got this person, I think they'd be suited to this person because they work in this sort of modality. But his, what he was talking on his Smile film as well, and I think around the anxiety, because anxiety is just, I think, something we're talking about more. It's like a natural response of ours, but when it gets so debilitating, I think that's one of the first signs I was experiencing and started to have panic attacks. Not knowing what the hell it was.
Right, so you don't know at the start, do you?
You don't know it. You're experiencing something, and then you're like, and I think his piece and his Smile film as well. I was like, at a time when I was quite poorly, which I was like, it's normalising something that I'm feeling. I think that's something.
I remember we've just done, I don't know if you put it out yet, an Instagram post around a vicious cycle around alcohol and anxiety. and I think that's something
Anxiety.
yeah, but also like so the anxiety, feeling anxious, have some booze, feel anxious, take the edge off, feel anxious, and so that, and it's a real simple. It's not.
It's like Elissa was saying in her one about how for decades she'd been pumping a depressant into her body, and it's like you think about it, it's like fucking bang on,
and then she's like, and then I'm depressed.
Yeah,
it's really. I mean, they're all great films. They can all be found on the website, so anyone who hasn't watched them should go and check them out. I know we've spoken a bit about the signs of how somebody might be struggling, but what are the key points that people can look out for if they think somebody they know or their friends are struggling? What are the things to look out for?
I suppose the key things, those sense of feeling of hopelessness and worthlessness that you think people are getting from someone. I think those things are those major feelings. Those things that are like out of place as well. That person's not being how they normally are. I think that's one of those signs.
Out of character,
exactly.
Just distance as well.
Yeah.
So one of the ones that I realised after.
Yeah.
Is that the distance of every time I went to see my mate, it was like he was just
Yeah.
not at the shop, or he was distance was a big one.
Isolating, not going out, not engaging, not in the normal activities that they'll do.
Something I found with Ben was I thought he was getting better. I thought, he seems a bit better. So if you see someone, you're experiencing, someone, close person to you, and 1 minute they're really struggling, then almost they seem a lot better. That's almost, I feel like, getting to a place of acceptance of they may have a plan and they're like, okay, I'm accepting this is what I'm gonna do. And I think, like Susie said, that kind of like drug taking, but or excessive drinking, but like Ben was picking fights. We were going out and he'd be picking fights with people, and I was like, what the hell? I was struggling to recognise him as a person. So I think extreme behaviours, extreme emotions, which feel different to what they were. But exactly like Sue says, I think if there's something in you, you've got someone in front of you and you're like, something isn't right. I just don't think something's not right.
Gut feeling,
something's sitting with you, your intuition's going off, and just being like, are you okay? And ask twice.
Yeah.
Because
just hearing you mention it, like Ben looking for a fight doesn't sound like Ben at all.
Yeah, we were going out, and any chance he got, he was scrapping. Like, I remember having to grab him, and his top basically ripped off where I was trying to stop him. And it was just that extreme behaviour of him, I guess what he was going through. When I was struggling, my drinking hugely increased. And I think, the signs sometimes aren't as obvious as that, aren't as obvious as that. But if you've got something in you and you're like, there's something here and I'm noticing something just doesn't feel right, just asking twice. And because I think we're too quick, aren't we, to go, yeah, I'm fine, I'm right. But you're like, no, how are you? And actually that is just going, I see you, I hear you, I'm with you, and I'm present. And I want to know, how are you? So ask twice, I would say as well.
Yeah. Where can people find out more about all of the work you're doing?
Our website.
You got a website?
We got a website.
Shiny website.
I mean, we mainly do things through our website and Instagram. That's it. We kind of that's how we reach people online. They can always contact us through that. There's links on our website to email us. There's links to download resources. There's links to...
And there is a lot of helpful resources. There's a lot of stuff on there.
There's a lot of stuff on the website, and the films are there. And if you don't want to watch the adverts on YouTube, then watch them through the website as well.
I thought you were going to say then buy YouTube.
Buy it up, subscribe.
And can people donate via the website as well to the cause?
Yeah, they can donate. There's a link for PayPal to donate via PayPal. They can sign up for suicide prevention training. We offer it for free to people who come through us. I mean, it's for skaters, but I just think if anyone, there's not that many people that outside of skateboarding that are interested in what we do, but there are. None of them not interested.
I think you'd be surprised. I think it's probably bigger
they're
than
interested.
everyone knows.
But it's what we try and do is make sure that, so when we're talking about, when we're doing suicide prevention training, we've got a group of people who might have some shared experiences and can relate to what we're talking about. And
and our counselling applications on there as well.
And there's also a database of counsellors. This is just for the UK, for counsellors who have done the training. So if you people have got the means to pay for their own counselling, we've got a whole load of counsellors who have done the training, and we've got direct access to their database, the database and the contact details there. And wider for the National Counselling Psychotherapy Society. Fundraising packs, if people want to do fundraisers. Lots of people contact us, they say, we want to do a fundraiser, and I'm like, brilliant. Go for it.
Like, get it done.
Yeah, because it's like, I can't say this is how you need to we've got a guide to fundraising. If people want support on that, and if they want like some stickers, then we can send them.
I think that's something which I found really gorgeous, is how many people, like, it doesn't have to be a huge thing, and just someone being like, I want to do something. And one of mine and Ben's really good friend, Brendan Baker, if you're listening, out to you, and he was due to run, I think, it was a marathon in Scotland. It was raising money for the foundation. I think it got called off. I can't remember if it was COVID or not. And Baker was like, I'm just going to go and do it in Brighton. And it was like baking hot weather. And he was there was no one cheering him on. And it's fucking grueling by the end of it. And he just went out on his own. And I think his wife there was just literally like, go on. And afterwards he messaged me. I was like, you're amazing. So I think people just, bigger. I mean, that's huge. Yeah, just any fundraisings. Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, the fundraising is brilliant, because it's like it does some of our work for us as well. It raises awareness about the foundation. It sort of shows people, it gives us a platform, hopefully enables people to reach us as well. And the funding is like, it's great. We need, obviously we're a charity, we're not doing this for profit, but we do have costs. But it's so nice to see. I write the annual report every year, and I was just doing it yesterday, and I go through like our PayPal and see like the messages people send as well, and that's really amazing. Like someone last year or the year, I think it was the year before last, they wanted their wedding donation. They would their wedding presents to be donations to us.
Great.
And it's
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's like so special to be able to be part of. Like they're like, we want you to be part of our day. We're like,
it's gorgeous.
Really, it's really amazing. Like, what did someone was doing? They do like runs and bike rides and things, pizza nights, like just create crafting and like craft things. Some people just want to do something.
My cousin did the ultramarathon. Lou did an ultramarathon. I was like, how's training going? Luce was like, I think a month before or something. He's like, yeah, kind of, all right. And he did it. He made it to the end. I couldn't believe it. 3 marathons in one.
Jesus.
He was going all through the night. He's just powerhouse.
Yeah.
I won't be signing up to one of those anytime
But you
soon.
did the marathon.
I did the
You did the London Marathon.
I did the London Marathon.
And you did Hackney Half last year.
I did Hackney Half. I'm fine with halves. Marathons are
Did it,
grueling. I was like, I really underestimated just how difficult it was.
Yeah.
My training plan, my brother Ollie ran the Berlin Marathon, and I did the London. We did it the same year. His was like a few weeks before. I was like, what training plan have you been following? And he was like, I got one. It was like, I followed Nike or something. And I was like, it's a proper marathon one. He was like, yeah. And he was like, what have you been doing? I was like, I've just been extending my runs like week by week. He was like, really? And then a week before the marathon, I was out partying, smoking loads of fags, drinking loads. Really would not recommend that to anyone. But I made it over the finish line anyway. But it was grueling.
Didn't Pritchard? He was doing an Ironman event, and then he was smoking fags before doing the swimming part or something like that. Before he got
gorgeous. You need a fag. Oh
God. We'll put links up to how people can donate in all the descriptions and stuff like that. Should we wrap it up there then?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Much appreciated. Good to see you both.
It's been very educational, and hopefully everyone listening to it can look at the links in the bio and follow the links and get help if they need it and donate.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Big up Benny boy.
Round of applause in studio audience, please.
Studio audience.
Well done, guys. That was amazing.
It's a lovely day. The birds are singing. The sun is shining. What more can you ask for?